Let's find out what's going on. To discuss, we're joined by the Progressive Health Forum's Dr. Aslam Dasoo. Dr. Dasoo, thank you for being with us. So we are hearing reports that the oncology unit is now open, but there are still 2,000 patients or so on a waiting list, and there are mental wards, some wards still not open, including the ICU. Does that correlate with the information you have?
Good afternoon, Francis. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, it very much does. The situation, let's just go into the cancer situation. There are some 2,000 patients who have been on a waiting list ever since the hospital closed. And you can obviously understand that unless they get the necessary, particularly radiation therapy, their cancers will advance. Many have already died, those who have been on that waiting list. We're not sure of the exact numbers, but I think when people don't have access to cancer care in the public service, because they certainly can't afford private care, then a lot of them kind of give up. And we lose these people. It's really a shocking and a tragic situation.
Very sad, and it's not like you can just go to a public hospital down the road that can accommodate you.
Correct, because, we use linear accelerators. It's radiation therapy, it's kind of nuclear medicine. And the problem also is that while it has opened, there's a real concern that some of these linear accelerators are not properly bunkered as radiating material. And so there has been a kind of slipshod approach to opening it because of the pressure that patient representatives have put on them. And I think this translates across disciplines in the hospital.
The demonstrators last week, Friday, were saying that they want transparency from government. Do you think there's been a lack of information here, of reasonable information as to why all the wards are not open, as to why almost a year down the line, there's still problems affecting patients needing desperate help at that hospital?
Yes, so we were very much part of the demonstration, of one of the organizers of this demonstration. It comes after repeated demonstrations by various organizations over this last year since the fire. And we decided that we needed to, collect ourselves into a broad front and take this matter on. And what we have discovered, of course, is that in the 10 months after the fire, the two departments in the Gauteng provincial government that are responsible for fixing things, the Department of Infrastructure and the Department of Health, were simply bickering. So they got nothing done because they couldn't agree on whose responsibility it was to fix things, whose responsibility it was to pay for it, how much it would cost. There was a fire compliance notice that they took 4 months to get after that fire to make sure that the city was happy that people could move back into the hospital. They managed to get that, but there's no fire forensic report. We don't know what caused the fire. We also don't have a structural engineering report 10 month after this hospital fire. And if you just give me a moment, I just need to explain. There is a serial culprit in the public health service in Gauteng that visits on us repeated disasters, small sometimes, but sometimes huge, like life accident. This, shoots things, all of those out of the water, because this has been a continuous, if you can imagine, on a scale of life accident on a daily basis. You've got a 1,000-bedded hospital that is now beginning to take in inpatients. They see thousands of outpatients whom they can't see. These inpatients are housed only in certain sections. They don't have psychiatry services. So what's happened, and typical of the fallout, is that Helen Joseph Hospital, which is the closest teaching hospital of the 5 major teaching hospitals in the system, has picked up all of these psychiatric patients. They don't have a place for them. So these psychiatric patients are kept in the emergency department. It's like walking into a medieval horror in the middle of the most industrialized city on the continent. This is beyond unacceptable. This is blatant harm being caused to people. Today, they couldn't even organize their security services. Security services left their posts. 10 of those 40 psychiatric patients in that emergency department absconded. We don't know where they are. Many of them attack staff because there's no security. The doctors and nurses are at their wits' end in the middle of a pandemic. So these two government departments, a Department of Health that is the richest in the country, can't even fix one hospital. This speaks to a serious dysfunction in the provincial government. And we don't know how it's going to end. I can tell you more about it. But
has there been any response from government? You mentioned the forensic report. That would be a small thing in relation to the further transgressions that you're talking about. But has there been an explanation as to why that forensic report has not been released? Has government explained? You're saying that people are dying because two departments are bickering. It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. And no, they have tried to explain. There was a press conference a couple of weeks ago and a representative came to the protest, and it's all smoke. It's all, we're aware of this and we are putting this together and we have now taken it away from infrastructure. It's now with national health and someone there is in charge, and we're bringing in the DBSA, and for an emergency, we're bringing in gift of the givers to help us fix something. We've gone to Solidarity Fund to look for some money. This is the kind of response that a government department that should be properly resourced is demonstrating. Now, this means that if that government department is completely incapable, and all of us are pretty clear that they can't do this. They don't know what to do, and they don't have the capacity to fix the problem.
So you're talking about the Gauteng Health Department. Do you have any more faith in the National Health Department or the Premier? I think there have been calls for the Premier to get involved as well.
The Premier is involved, if I may say so, but he seems to be unable to fix his department's dysfunction. The National Department has been brought on board and responsibility has been transferred to it. The National Department is under such severe pressure at the moment that we wonder how they're going to do things. Well, this was the first thing they did. The plan from the Infrastructure Department was that we will fix the hospital by 2027. And when they transferred it, apparently, to the National Health Department, after one meeting, that department said, okay, we'll do it by the end of 2023. 2023, from 2027. Yeah. This tells you that there's no plan. They are just speaking to kind of placate people. There's nothing. No politician has attended this hospital except when it burned. The MEC is missing in action. So the one thing that needs to happen is that department has to be put under immediate administration and those people turfed out. There's a huge amount of corruption. That department and the Department of Infrastructure are poster children of the corruption we saw with PPE and building the Anglo Gold Ashanti Hospital and so on, which led to the suspension of 9 officials. So what you're dealing with here is an authority incapable of fixing the hospital. The danger, however, and this must be understood by our people and by the media, is that when you take out a hospital of the scale of Charlotte Maxeke, the fallout on the other hospitals in the system immediately occurs. They can sustain that for a short while. After a year, the systemic damage is deep, even in those hospitals, in Prasani Bara, in Helen Joseph, and it will take us years to fix those problems. So there is a complete incapability. If I had the power, I'd ask the president to put the entire Gauteng provincial government under administration. They are incapable of doing anything for us.
All right, so it's a knock-on effect. Thank you for outlining that for us. Dr. Aslam Dasoo, Progressive Health Forum convener. And we'll see if we can get a response to that. A claim he's making that psychiatric patients are being mistreated, moved, and then the doctors aren't being protected because there's no security, saying that can even overshadow what happened in terms of Life Isidimeni, which of course was a tragedy in this country. We'll see if we can get a response.